Correct.
So, and there is also the rule that a person must answer a question asked by the commission.
Correct.
So that would cause a tension, because if the commission were to force a person to abrogate his right or not to incriminate himself, the commission would have to give you use immunity, which is to say that that which you say to incriminate yourself would not be used against you in prosecution. That is just an explanation I made. It certainly was no undertaking by the Commission that you are given any form of amnesty or immunity. Is that your understanding?
I do.
So there is no issue of amnesty here or no issue of immunity here. Mr. Sabally, kindly confirm that you are appearing voluntarily.
As I said yesterday, I came from Dakar to the Gambia on my own volition. I was not forced to come to the Gambia. I felt I have to come and take part in this TRRC for the nation. Thank you.
You were not given
any
benefits
immunity
in exchange?
No.
Thank you very much. I just thought I should clarify that particular point. So now let's go back to the events of November 11th.
Okay.
In your testimony, you indicated that before you departed State House, you had a council plan to go and conduct this war and execute and kill the ringleaders, correct?
Correct.
We have to try to get to the bottom of it. According to you, in your testimony yesterday, you could not remember Babukar Jatta being armed.
Correct.
Do you still maintain that testimony?
100% correct.
Babukar said in his testimony that during the attack at Fajara Barracks, he personally led the attack on your instructions. I asked you that yesterday. You said that was not true.
That wasn't correct.
Why do you think the army commander would suggest that he commanded that operation when he did not?
Maybe in his capacity as the army commander on the ground at the time, as I said yesterday, in an operation we have different units that are on the move in advance. And probably is a possibility that where he was, at the flank where he was commanding those troops, as I was also in another different direction.
According to Babukar Jatta, he said he assigned the various responsibilities. Which group must do this, which group must do that, which group must do that, which group must do that. And that he assigned you responsibility to take over near the residential areas. Is that true or false?
When we entered, it's false. When we entered Fajara Barracks through the back door, we had not fired until when we received fire from the machine guns. And that was the time we expanded in an extended line. This was after the residential areas. And then we advanced towards the guard room.
So your testimony is that Babukar Jatta never commanded this operation?
I am not saying he never commanded the operation. I'm saying he didn't command the area I was. I want to be very clear on record.
Okay, let's get this straight. Who was the leader of the operation?
In virtue of my position, I was the commander on the ground.
That is in virtue of your position.
You know.
That is a de jure issue.
Correct.
Now let's talk about the de facto situation. What actually obtained on the ground? Who commanded the operation?
I was in command of the operation.
So you cannot have two commanders of one operation?
Of course you can.
Okay, I am not a soldier,
okay,
but it is certainly obvious that you cannot have two commanders of one operation. One person must be subordinate to the other.
In an operation situation of that nature, you can even have up to 10 commanders on the ground.
No, having commanders.
Yeah. It depends on here what
let me finish, Mr. Sabally.
Please.
You are the person there, so you are the only one who has knowledge of what happened. Before you deployed, did you tell Babukar Jata that he should lead the operation and command the operations and that all of you were behind him? Did you tell him that?
Personally, I did not, because he was not armed. This was a battle zone.
That is your recollection, that he was not armed. But do you recall having that conversation with him?
I did not.
Do you recall subordinating yourself in that operation to anybody?
No.
As far as you recall, you were the leader of that operation.
100% correct.
And what do you say to the suggestion? In fact, let me rephrase. Was there a time during that operation when you needed to make a call to Jame?
From Fajar Barracks?
Yes.
No.
Just as you were about to enter Fajara Barracks?
No.
You did not make a call to Jame. Do you know a person called Sisawa Fati?
Sisawa Fati, yes.
Was there any occasion when it was suggested that a call be placed to Jame and Babukar was so shaking that he could not even place the call? Do you recall that?
Maybe in Yundum Barracks, but in Fajar Barracks, no.
All right.
And I will come to that later. I will explain this issue of this call. There was a communication failure.
All right. But you're saying it was at Yundum and not Fajara?
Not Fajara Barracks.
Okay, good. So as far as you're concerned, did Babukar Jata play a major role in that attack in Fajara Barracks?
As far as I'm concerned, since he was not armed, negative.
But on the issue of being armed, he said he was armed. He had a pistol.
Okay, that's what I'm saying. Personally, even me, I had two pistols under my uniform. But it's not easy to be seen, rather.
That's right. But so let's not pin it on whether he had an arm or not. But as far as you're concerned, he did not play a major role in that attack. If
he said he had, that's from his side. But as far as I'm concerned, as I said, it was an operation, and I would not send anybody who was not armed ready for battle in such a situation.
So would it be grandstanding on his part for suggesting that he led the attack?
Could you explain to me this grandstanding, the correct meaning, please? Could you enlighten me more?
Is it just being braggadocious? He is trying to show off, put himself in a position that he certainly was not at the time.
I don't know about Karjata with such attitudes. Definitely not. I would not lie about his attitude.
So you think, therefore, then that would you be able to suggest what you think is a reason why he claimed something which you dispute?
Certainly, I know maybe he must have controlled part of the flanks. This I can give the benefit of the doubt. He must have done that.
And he could not have done that certainly without a weapon.
Maybe. Since he said he was armed, of course, then he could do that.
Okay. All right. When Babukar Jata arrived, did he know that the ringleaders were to be killed?
No.
Why didn't he know that?
Well, as I said, I called him to inform him about the situation, that he was going to be arrested if he doesn't leave his house within 2-3 minutes. And then I sent JCB Mendy and Jambo Jiva as a driver to go and pick him. And then they picked him and brought him. Under the circumstances, there was confusion. It was a battle zone. And you don't have time to explain certain things.
He left Yundum Barracks with you to Fajara Barracks.
Exactly.
According to you guys, you fought the war, and the few hours war was over, you took over the barracks.
Right.
Men were paraded and executed.
Correct.
These were soldiers under his command because he was commander of the GNA. Did he stop the operation?
No.
He let the operation continue and those soldiers were executed.
I don't think in his position there he could have stopped anything, to be quite honest.
No, the question is not whether he could have. The question is whether he did anything to stop it.
No.
Thank you very much. So Then you left Yundum Barracks. Where did you go personally?
To Fajara Barracks. From Fajara Barracks,
Yes, from Fajara Barracks after executing Dot
I
Far
went to the
and
radio
Barrow.
station, Radio Gambia. It was before 7 o'clock, and I relayed a news on Radio Gambia, explaining the circumstances, what had happened the previous night.
And what explanation did you give?
I gave to the nation that there was a coup attempt, and then we have foiled the coup, and some children have died. And I did apologize to the people of Bakau, especially for the sleepless night.
Did you apologize to the families of those people, the loved ones
On this
who were executed?
On this particular night, no, we saw them as enemies.
You did not see them as captured soldiers who were to be treated humanely,
Honestly not.
but you know that is illegal.
It could be illegal.
So after mile 2, where did you go?
I went to the State House.
Sorry, after Radio Gambia, yes, where did you go?
We went to the State House.
And then what happened?
We discussed about the capture of Barrow and the killing. And then we continued back to Yundum Barracks.
So at State House, who did you meet?
Chairman Jame.
Were you alone when you met him?
The whole council members were there.
And what was discussed?
We discussed about the capture of Lieutenant Barrow and Dot Fall and some of the soldiers in Yundum Barracks who were already in detention in mile 2. And we discussed what to do next with the remaining the ringleaders who were somehow on the run.
And what decision did you arrive at?
We have to pursue them by any means to get them.
And what would you do when you get them?
To execute the ringleaders.
And this was also another council decision.
Exactly.
So this would be the second council decision to execute these people.
It might not be the second one. It is not the second one. It was only to reiterate what we had agreed on before.
Exactly. So precisely, this is the second time a council decision is being taken to execute these people.
Exactly.
Was there any opposition in the council?
No, it was a unilateral decision.
Unanimous or unilateral?
Unilateral decision, complete.
I don't. Let's watch the words we are using. Unilateral would mean it is made by one person without consulting anybody.
Okay, then unanimous agreement. Sorry.
Unanimous means all of you agreed.
Okay.
So all of you have a responsibility for that agreement.
Correct.
So yourself and who was present?
Edward Singate, Tariu Hydra, Barrow, Safala, Jame himself and Toure.
By Toure you mean?
Yankuba Toure.
All of you made that decision to execute these people.
Exactly.
All right. So this was the plan of the council.
Exactly.
So you left to go back to Yundum Barracks to execute that plan.
Exactly.
Tell us what happened when you arrived at Yundum.
When we arrived in Yundum Barracks, we took out the ringleaders from our list, and then we went and executed them.
That would be in the afternoon, wouldn't it?
Correct.
But in the morning, Fafanyang was killed, Basiru Kamara was killed, EMCC was also killed. Could you recall the circumstances of those killings?
When they were being killed, I was in the anteroom, but I will not relinquish that responsibility.
Of course, the council made the decision.
Correct.
So whether you were there or you were not there would not really matter, would it?
Exactly.
So would it matter or would it not?
It wouldn't matter.
Exactly, simply because it was a common plan by members of the council.
Correct.
But you were in the barracks and you were aware that these people were killed.
I was there for that reason.
You were there for that reason,
Exactly.
to make sure they were killed.
Exactly.
And killed they were.
And they were killed.
By and on the order of yourself and members of the council.
Correct.
Thank you. On that particular afternoon, when these guys were being taken to be killed, who was present?
All the council members except Yaya Jame, the chairman.
That means to say,
Sanna Sabally,
yes,
Yankuba Toure, Edward Singate, Tariu Hydra.
And Peter Singate, was he
Singate,
present? Babukar Jata, was he present?
Abukar was present, exactly.
So all the men were taken from the cells, and tell us the process from the cells to the execution place.
They were taken from the cells and then loaded into a Land Rover, and then we drove to C4 area. And
Yes,
that's where
proceed.
we executed them.
Would you recall who was executed?
Actually, I think Kopul Kanye, if I could fully remember.
He participated, or
Yeah, he participated.
yes? So can you tell us who was killed?
In this particular, it was Lieutenant Jibril says, Cadet Amadou Silla, Lieutenant ML Dabo, I think, Dromi across.
Bakari Mane,
Yeah, Nyancho, Bakar Mane,
Abdullahi Ba,
Blaiba,
a chopping,
correct.
and who else is it, Judge? There were 6. Buba Jame,
Uba, I didn't know him before. I couldn't remember exactly.
Lieutenant Buba Jame from the Gendarmerie.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I didn't know him before. I cannot recall exactly if he was there. But
Yes,
since he was killed, yeah.
He was there.
Okay.
What do you say to the suggestion that these people were killed simply because they tried to provoke the council members?
Provocation? No. A coup can never be provocation.
Okay.
Especially where live ammunition is taken.
Exactly.
No.
When you took them to the firing range, okay, before you left, there was a meeting in the anteroom, correct?
Correct.
And in the anteroom, it was decided that these people should also be executed.
Correct.
And Babukar Jata and Lamin Marong were present in that meeting.
No, I can't remember that. The day before, of course, when we went to talk to them, yes.
No, this is at the anteroom. Let me read out from the statement of Momodou Marong,
Okay.
who became captain and later commanding officer of Yundum Barracks.
Okay.
This is what he has to say in paragraph 108 of his statement. Looking at the very short time Sub-Lieutenant Singate spent in the signals room, I did not believe that he talked to the AFPRC chairman about permission to have the officers killed. I believe he went in the signals room to get the telephone wires that he would later use to tie the hands of the officers that would be killed. Nevertheless, I knew Chairman Jame was a brutal person and who would not object to the killing of the officers. Second Lieutenant Singate looked at me. He pointed at me with his right forefinger and he said, "You are not part of it." Most probably because I disagreed with the killing of the officers. It was a compliment because I had no interest in being a spectator to a deliberate deprivation of human life. It was unethical. As at that time, the decision to kill and to participate in any killing was voluntary. The army commander did not say a word during the meeting. He did not support my motion to save the lives of the innocent officers. He simply followed the AFPRC officers as if he had no duty to speak on behalf of the officers. Is that true?
I said no. The last time I saw Lieutenant Morong was on the 10th when we went to the camp to talk to the soldiers.
For your information, Babukar Jata did confirm that yes, there was this meeting and that he did not say anything.
I'm not saying there was not a meeting. We were in the anteroom, but I did not see Lieutenant Morong. That's what I'm saying.
This is what I'm trying to suggest to you. Babukar Jata did confirm that Marong was present.
Okay, if he confirms that, I take his word.
But what I am trying to drive at here is, while you were at the anteroom and you made this decision again that you are going to execute these people, this would be the third decision or the second confirmation of the first decision. Did Babukar Jatta say anything? Did he stop it?
No, he didn't stop anything.
He did not say anything.
No, he didn't say anything.
It was voluntary to go and be present or participate in this issue.
That he could answer himself correctly.
No, you are the head of the operation.
100%
Did
correct.
you compel anybody to follow you and participate in that?
No, if there is any if I had compelled him to come, was the only time I called him to save his life.
So you did not compel him to join you to
No.
go to the forest?
No.
So he went along voluntarily,
It's possible.
knowing fully well that these people are going to be executed.
100% correct.
So when you arrive at the place of execution, did Babukar Jatta say anything?
No.
Did he tell you to stop it?
No.
Did he tell you that it was illegal?
No.
Did he say he was not going to be part of this?
No.
And the boys were paraded
Exactly.
and executed.
Correct.
Who gave the command for the
I, Sanna
execution?
Sabally.
And your council members, did they participate in the execution?
Everybody participated in the execution.
Yankuba Ture,
Yes, correct.
Sanna Sabally,
Correct.
Edward Singate,
Correct.
Peter Singate,
Correct.
Sadibu Haidara,
Correct.
all of you participated
All
in the
of us.
execution.
All of
What would you say to the suggestion that Yankuba Ture was not there?
I would say it is a lie.
So, after the execution of these men, what did you do with the bodies?
We took them back into the vehicles and drove back to Yundum Barracks.
Who made the decision to take them back to Yundum Barracks?
I made the decision.
Who made the suggestion, if you could remember?
Nay.
What would you say to the suggestion that Babukar Jatta suggested that they be taken back to Yundum Barracks for burial?
But if he had not taken part in it all along, how could he say something at that particular juncture?
No, he was there.
Nay. Yeah, he was there, of course.
He was the army commander. He went along knowing fully well that there's an agreement to go and execute these people.
Correct.
Wouldn't that make him part of it?
Of course.
Exactly. So did Babukar suggested before the commission, if my recollection is right, that he said, let's bury them at the barracks?
If he had said so, Babukar, I have never known him for lying. If he had said so, I would 100% go with his word.
Exactly. So, and according to him, the rationale was so that the dead would be safe.
I agree
Quite
with
an
him.
irony. They would be safe or safer in the barracks.
I agree with him.
So, in a sense, why did you think they would be safer in the barracks?
We're waiting for a particular day like this. So when they have to be given back to their families, they could be exhumed and then taken back to their
But
families.
Mr. Sabally, the idea was to cover up
No.
the operation.
No, if there was a cover-up, I wouldn't have been at the radio station to announce that there were deaths.
Did you inform the family members?
No.
So how would anybody know that a father or a brother or an uncle has been killed?
This would be the pursuance of the army later.
Did you direct the army to do anything to
No.
inform the families?
At this particular point, we are running around looking for those who are on the run with arms and ammunition.
You have executed
Exactly.
11 people,
Exactly.
2 at Fajara Barracks,
Correct.
3 at Yundum Barracks,
Correct.
6 in Sufro Forest.
Correct.
You bury them in Yundum Barracks.
100% correct.
No family member was informed,
Correct.
and you say it was not a cover-up.
It was not a cover-up.
What do you understand a cover-up to mean?
Because this would mean that we were hiding information, and we weren't.
Yes, you
Where
were.
they-
You were hiding information about who was killed. You just gave a general information to the public that some soldiers died in the crossfire.
That is what I said yesterday. Some information, you don't give it out easily like that.
But in fact, there was misinformation because people were led to believe that soldiers were killed in fighting.
We cannot call it anything other than fighting. And as much as weapons were drawn, live ammunition were used, you cannot call it anything but what it is. Yeah.
So as far as you are concerned, fighting continues way beyond the point when people put down their weapons. In your head, fighting still continues.
In the military, we have battle drills, and we just go to the last one, for example. When you move from the first one and you get in touch with from the moment you take your arms and you get the briefings that you're going to meet an enemy, the battle is drawn from that point. And along the line, you can come in contact with the enemy, firefight starts. At a point, you have to stop, that is the lull come down of the fighting. You search for your own dead and wounded, your equipment, and then you reorganize. From this reorganization, it's possible fighting could still continue. And here, most of them were on the run. They have arms and ammunition, and they went into residential areas. We have no choice but to pursue them wherever they were.
That may very well be true. It sets out what is to be expected in a normal battle, normal military battle. This is to be expected. What we are talking about is not the full spectrum of what would normally happen in a battle. What we are talking about is where a person has surrendered or has been captured. That person is not at that point in time fighting a battle. That person is a prisoner.
Prisoner, he could be even dangerous where he is.
We are not talking about whether the prisoner can be dangerous or not dangerous. We are saying that at the point of capture, the person ceases to become a combatant. The person becomes a prisoner. This is what we are saying.
What distinguishes the military and the civilian is not the uniform, but what is in the mind.
Okay, well, is that the mindset you personally have, or is that the mindset of officers of the Gambia National Army?
This is not, here we are not talking about specific army, we are talking about general.
If that is the mindset of officers of the Gambia National Army, don't you think it is quite worrisome?
We are not talking about the Gambia National Army, I repeat. The Gambia National Army is a professional army, and today is more professional, if I would add that adjective there.
Well, what you did on that day of November 11 is far from being professional. It's nothing to be proud about.
I am not here to defend anything or to give excuses of what had happened. I understand lives were lost, but here I am asking that...
No, lives were not lost. People were murdered.
If you say so, yes.
All right, so let's move on. Let's move on. The bodies were taken back to Yundum Barracks.
Correct.
Were they buried in your presence?
No.
Why not?
I gave the orders that they should be buried.
What type of burial did you order to be given?
I only said bury them, and we left for the State House.
You are a Muslim, Mr. Sabally, aren't
Correct.
you? And those days you were also a Muslim.
Correct.
Didn't you deem it appropriate to give them a proper burial?
Here I would expect they do the right thing by giving them those type of burials. But under the circumstances...
You were only expecting.
I'm coming, please. Under the circumstances, I don't expect also anybody to bury them the way we bury our dead bodies in the normal Muslim.
Why not? Aren't they entitled to decent and proper treatment?
Under normal circumstances, yes. But under those circumstances, no.
Why not?
They were enemies.
And enemies cannot be treated properly?
No. I said yesterday, there is no small enemy. There is no little enemy. An enemy is an enemy.
A dead enemy is no longer an enemy.
It is. You can't disqualify that from him anymore. He's still an enemy.
and not entitled to any decent or proper treatment?
It depends on from which angle you looked at it. Please.
Okay. So, after the burial, where did you go?
I went back to State House.
Who did you go with?
We went with the council members together.
And to who did you go?
Okay, before that, I want to explain something that we have missed.
Please go ahead.
Whilst we were in the guard room, some soldiers were arrested, and Lance Corporal Kebe was arrested and brought in the guard room. And there he sat down, and I was asking him, because like I said yesterday, there were two Lance Corporal Kebes in the army at the time, Lance Corporal Alaji Kebe and Lance Corporal Amadou Kebe. So when they brought Lance Corporal Alaji Kebe, I was talking to him, asking him exactly if he was involved in the coup that has already been foiled. And all of a sudden, Edward Singate pulled his pistol, bang, he fired at his right, if I'm correct, his right thigh.
Was it accidental?
No, that was not accidental.
It was deliberate.
Right, correct. And immediately I saw he was bleeding. In fact, I nearly shot at Edward back.
Why?
Yeah, because it's human, it's instinctive. It just came like that. Because
Why?
I was talking, this is the person I was talking to directly.
You believed it was what? Correct? What he did? Or was it wrong?
It was wrong at this particular point in time. I was talking to this particular person, trying to find out the information, whether he was part of the coup or not. And then the shot came, bang.
Did you feel offended because you were questioning the person?
It's not feeling offended because I was questioning the person, because I felt he should have waited until we established the correct information that he was part of it or he was not part of it. That was my mind.
So there was, your suggestion is you have not yet established a basis
Correct.
Why he should be shot.
Correct.
Right. Did you indicate to, what did you say to Mr. Singate?
This is later, we talked together, two of us, and I continue. I will come to that also. Then
Please.
I attended Alaji Kebe's foot, tie. I applied tourniquet immediately. I carried him to the infirmary, the clinic in the hospital, in the camp there. And then I asked the duty driver, the ambulance, and the medic on duty at the time to rush him to the hospital so that they could attend to him.
Why did you do that?
It's human.
It's a rare display of kindness on your part.
As I said, in battle, anything can happen.
But do you think that Mr. Alaji Kebe was the only person who deserved that kind of humane treatment?
No, he was not the only one. But at this particular point, it was instinctive that it has come up that I should attend to him, and I did.
But you led other helpless individuals whose hands were tied behind their backs and executed them.
The difference is, for me, they were ringleaders.
Thank you very much.
Please. Kebe was taken to the hospital, and he was attended, and he was brought back, and he joined the detainees.
All right. And why was he detained?
Because later we find out that he was part of it. He was the one who was at the airport.
He was not executed.
No, he was not a ringleader.
That's why he was not executed.
Correct.
Okay. If he was a ringleader, he would have been executed.
I would have done it myself then.
Thank you very much. So from Yundum Barracks, you went to State House.
Correct.
Tell us who was present at that meeting at State House.
We were the council members. We were present, all of us.
Kindly name them, please.
Lieutenant Jame, the chairman at the time, Lieutenant Sanna Sabally, Edward Singate, Yankubo Toure, and Sadibu Hydra.
And what was the discussion about?
We discussed that we have killed the ringleaders, those who we are apprehended, and we have executed them.
Mission accomplished.
Not complete yet, because...
Mission accomplished with regards to the ringleaders.
Correct, but some were on the run, like Lieutenant Binaminte was on the run, Sergeant Kaljuf was on the run, and they were armed and dangerous. So we have to pursue them to find out where they are.
So you had a debriefing meeting in which you looked at your achievements and you were satisfied with the fact that you have executed 11 officers.
Correct?
Did anybody raise any form of consensus objection to what has happened?
Within the council members there?
Yes.
In what form, if I...
Did anybody say what we did was wrong?
No.
Everybody supported the decision.
As I said, these were enemies. If they had had the chance to get us, we would have been dead bodies at that time and buried at the Brikama firing range. But that was their mission.
What would you say to the suggestion that some council members were not present during these executions?
I would want to know the person who would stand and tell me I was not part of that meeting.
What would you say to that person?
He is lying.
Thank you very much. So now that concludes our discussion of November 11. Now let's move on to your time. Did I go past the time? Oh, okay. All right. What time is it? Okay, 10. Okay. Okay. So now let's move on to post-November 11.
Okay.
There was a National Consultative Commission to do what?
This NCC was established to sensitize the public or to ask for information from the public as to how long they would want the council or the Armed Forces Professional Council government to stay in power before we could hand over to civilian rule. However, I would quick to point out that here I was 100% against it.
Why?
The fact that when we were planning, I have said it here yesterday, we had planned to stay only for 6 months. So for me, there was no need for any National Consultative Committee.
So, and how was that decision taken?
It was not taken lightly.
Yes. Can you explain the process? I know you said this again, yes, you said it yesterday, but I want to give you the chance to reinforce that.
In the meeting where we discussed about it, to form this NCC, as I said, I gave my word clearly. We had sworn into the Quran and the Bible that we would stay in power only for 6 months and then bring in a civilian government. Even if it was going to be at this point a caretaker government, this is what we are supposed to do. And then it went on, we discussed, we didn't come to agree that it has to be formed. And I was one, and then we formed the National Consultative Committee, and then they started their job. Along a line, I think they were in Kaur or Kuntaur, I cannot remember exactly, but if Captain Bojang, Mudu Bojang, who was the commissioner at the time in MID, he could attest to that. I got information that he was interfering in the way of the NCC, how they were working, or from the other end, the way the public was giving their views that we should go back to barracks immediately. And then I called him, I told him, stay out of it, let them decide what time we have to stay in power.
Mr. Sabally, I just beg your pardon. I have to take you back to November 11, just on one important point of clarification.
Okay.
Like I said, people have been adversely mentioned. It is only fair that we elicit evidence which would put the matter to rest, okay. Which would show clearly whether some of the things we heard are true or they're false.
That's correct.
We've discussed Babu Karjata extensively, but we have received information that Mamadou Baji, who is currently the National Security Advisor, we've received information that he was present at Yundum Barracks or at Fajara Barracks. What is your take on that?
I was going to come to that when we started giving out the commissioner positions. Captain Modubadi was never near the combos, let alone at the Fajara Barracks or Yundum Barracks. It is totally false, completely.
Thank you very much. At the forest, which of your orderlies were present?
Here, I wouldn't be able to say exactly who. As I said yesterday, the orderlies were changing duties every 2 days.
Did you have?
I believe it might be JCB Mendy. or both of them, Njai and JCB together, or only JCB is a possibility.
Did you, as far as you can recall, give anybody or any of your orderlies clearance to go home that day because of an injury?
It's maybe JCB or Zakaria Dava. I cannot remember exactly, but it's possible.
We have received evidence that Njai Ponkal was injured in the hand, and he did not go to the execution at the forest. True or false?
If he said he was injured and he had permission, it could be possible. It's true.
So the only thing you say is it can be possible, but you can't remember.
I can't remember. If he said he was not there, I take his word.
Well, we cannot go with that. But anyway, we will not bother you too much with the issue. If you know for certain he was not there, you say it. If you don't know, tell us you don't know.
I don't know.
You don't know. Okay. So then let's now go back to the issue of the NCC. It was just important that we clarify these two things, because it's important that people are treated fairly, they are treated properly, so that at least we get the relevant evidence from eyewitnesses and be able to make a decision one way or another. So now let's proceed with the issue of the NCC. Telling us about the activities of Mamadou Bojang.
Exactly. And there I told him clearly, hands off completely from this issue, let the NCC do their job.
Among the council, were you all in the same wavelength with regards to the future of the AFPRC?
Actually, during the preparation and planning concerning the time of stay in power, we had all agreed at that particular point that we stay for 6 months. And after the 6 months, we would make a bargain, or we would talk with the government to come in so that we go on abroad for further studies.
As at December, or say early January 1995, was that position still popular amongst members of the council?
No, it was only by me and Sadibu Hydra.
How about the others? What was their position?
I couldn't tell exactly, but they were not welcoming for us to stay only for 6 months.
And what was their proposition?
It was going to continue.
So they wanted to perpetuate themselves. They wanted to remain in power.
Yes.
That's your testimony.
Correct.
All right. Can you tell us what happened around 26th of January, 1994?
Right. On the 26th of January, I think it would be around 2, 3 in the afternoon, before closing, shortly before closing. I had migraine, and I called the doctor from Sukuta, Dr. Asan, and he came and checked me, and he said, you have to go home and rest. You are not resting. So I left for home. And later, Akibai, who was my permanent secretary, he brought me the NCC draft report, which was submitted on that day. And I called with Jame, and we said, okay, tomorrow morning, before we do the council meeting, we looked at this draft this draft report from the NCC. And then the next morning when I come, I was already arrested and in mile 2.
Let's talk about the process of your arrest, because that one too is important for the commission.
Okay, sorry, on that Thursday, before I left for home, I had a delegation that was Baba Job, Jabate of the police, for the body of the police.
Which Jabate?
I think later he would become a minister, I think. I don't know his name actually, or his nickname, but I know he was Jabate from the police.
What was his profession apart from being police?
I think he would have been in the CID. I can't tell exactly, but he was more close to investigations and with to the NIA at the time, or yeah, I can't tell exactly. I don't want to lie about that.
Which ministry did he head ultimately? You said he became a minister.
I said I think he became a minister. It's just trying to find out, trying to give out the exact person I wanted to say he was.
Which ministry did he serve in?
I think maybe Minister of Justice, if I'm right.
So that would be Baba Dinding?
I don't know his real name.
Lamin Jabate?
I don't know his real name, to be quite honest.
Okay. He worked with who? Who did he work with closely at the time?
In this meeting, he came with...
No, the question is, who did he work with most closely as at the time you had that interaction with him?
This was the NIA at the time.
Which personality in the NIA did he work with closely?
These were the information, that intelligence unit that brings information to the State House.
Who was his main partner?
Aba Marena.
You mentioned Efodebari as well. Do you know whether Jobate and Fodebari worked together?
This I can ascertain.
You cannot ascertain. But the person that came to your office was called Jobate.
Exactly.
Okay. Do you remember how he looked like? Could you give us a description? You've told us Jobate worked with intelligence, NIA, Ministry of Justice. Those are the four.
These are my recollection to try to pinpoint exactly the person I'm referring to.
Okay.
I may be 100% wrong on that side, but
do you know from where about this country he hailed from?
No.
Okay. Good.
Tell.
All right.
I don't know him much.
We can go with that.
Meeting.
We can go with that, with what you've given us. That is enough to be able to identify the person. You don't know the name, so you can't confirm or deny my proposition. So, you said Jobate and Fodebari came. Did they come with anybody else?
Baba Job.
Baba Job.
And Sol Ndao.
Sol Ndao, yes.
Exactly. And in this meeting, it was Baba Job and Sol Ndao who said, or they were making a proposal that we establish the 22nd July Youth Movement. And I told them clearly, I'm not against the formation of this 22nd July movement, but my time was up to leave the council because my 6-month term was already there.
Did they see anything else?
They saw it strange, but I think they understood. I think Soldau in the end said, you have to go, but we should have stayed. And then they tried to explain how Baba Job was trained in Libya and Soldau, how they were organizing these things so that we can consolidate as a civilian government. But I said, no, at the end of the 6 months, I have sworn into the Quran, I will not go against this swearing.
So you indicated your determination to leave.
Exactly.
Whether AFPRC remained or not.
Certainly, yes.
So what happened after that?
I went home, I got the National Council Committee report, this is the draft report for that day, and then I called Jami and said, we discuss it tomorrow before we sit in the council meeting. Because for him it was like the term given was 2 point, are you with me? Okay.
Yes.
The term he was looking for was 2.5 years, 2.5 years, meaning 2.5 years. And I reminded him clearly on the telephone that we had sworn into the Quran and the Bible that we are going to hand over after 6 months.
Was he happy when you said that?
He said, until we see tomorrow.
Okay. And what happened the next day?
The next day, we went to work. I was in the office. I was writing a letter to my cousin. And then he called on the intercom. Come to my office. I took the stairs upstairs. And when I come into the corridor, okay.
Before this, what was your relationship like with Edward Singate?
Okay, if I should fast track it the next day, that very Thursday, later I'd have to recollect and put dots together. Then I knew, yeah, that was.
What did you know when you connected the dots together? Because
he came that evening, in the morning, he said, we have to hand over the weapons because the civilians are afraid of these weapons in the State House. And of course, we are dealing with civilians. So I complied. I said, okay, I'll bring the weapons in the afternoon. So when I went home, I asked the guards to bring out these weapons, clean them, and take them back to the armory in the State House where they belong to. And Edward Singate, on this particular evening, he visited me in the Fajara residence. But for me, later I come to put the dots together. he was there to confirm that we had no weapons.
For what?
In the event, if there was to be a fighting between me and them, then they would overpower us.
And what happened on that Friday?
On that Friday, as I said, I went to work, normal. I was writing a letter to my cousin sister, and then Jammeh called in the intercom, and then he said, come to my office. For me, since we called the previous evening to discuss the NCC report, the draft report, before we sit in council, I found it necessary and normal, and I went. Immediately I arrived in the corridor.
How did you go? Did you go alone or did you go with your guards?
I think JCB would have been behind me. I never went there alone, but they stopped always in the security room.
Were you armed?
Of course, I was armed with my pistol.
So tell us what happened when you arrived at Jammeh's office, his area.
When I arrived in the corridor, already his soldiers were there, the bodyguards were there, they waited for me, and then they arrested me.
Could you describe how and who was there?
Khalifa Bajinka was there, Almamo Mane was there, Bakari Kamara was there, Malafi Kaur was there, other soldiers, I don't know them from the TSG. Musa Mane was there, Musa Jammeh was there, commonly called Malia Mungu. Lamin S. Kamara was there. He was the bodyguard to Lieutenant Singate. And I think Samba Jallo was there, the driver to Edward Singate.
Bach.
Exactly.
These were all very big guys, huh?
Yes.
They overpowered you easily.
Correct.
And what happened to your arm?
They disarmed me. They tied me down. And then
Do you mean by that? They tagged me down.
They weighed me down, meaning they brought me down, and then they tied my legs and my hands together. And then subtly, maybe 3, 4, 5 minutes, Sadib also walked into the same trap. He was also overpowered and arrested like myself.
What was Sadib's position with regards to the handing over to civilian rule?
He was on my side.
He too was adamant that
We have
6
to go.
months, no more.
We have to go.
Why do you think he was arrested?
Because I was arrested, he would have to be arrested.
And after your arrest, immediately after your arrest, what happened?
Then we were brought down through the office of Jammeh at the time, then through the back door into 2 waiting vehicles, and then.
Did you see Mr. Singate at the time of the arrest?
Actually, at that point, Singate, when we were arrested, even before we were marched through the office, Singate came, and then he pointed the pistol right on Sadib's forehead, and I told him, do not fire. And then he lowered his pistol down and then went back into the office of Jammeh. That was the last time I saw them, or saw him.
Did you enter Jammeh's office at all?
Yeah, before the arrest, no. But when we have been marched to the vehicles, yes, because they forced us through the back door.
Did you have a word with him?
I didn't even see him.
So, after you were marched through Jammeh's office, where were you taken?
We were taken into a waiting vehicle, and then 2 miles to prison.
Did you hear the government announcement as to what happened?
This would come on a Monday. I was later told. I didn't hear it, but I was later told.
What were you told?
That I entered Jammeh's office and found him sitting down, and I pointed my pistol to him, and I said, this is your end. And then I was frozen, like a mummy, and then he came, disarmed me, tied me down, and then that was ended for him.
Can you describe what you mean, frozen like a mummy?
Yeah.
Did he have a magic wand and say, Sanna Sabally, freeze, and suddenly you are frozen?
Yeah, I would think so. Yeah. I don't know why he said so, but for me, this was going to come in the later years. For me, it was like he was establishing that he's invincible, that nobody can do anything to him, and then that was the beginning of his power.
So he suggested to people that he had supernatural powers.
Exactly.
He could freeze people when he wanted.
Yeah.
And then you think that was a lie?
Sorry?
That was a lie.
A big fat one.
So kindly tell us about your time in detention. For how long were you in detention before you were tried?
I was in detention from that January on the 27th, that Friday, until in August, I think, they arraigned me before a court-martial, and 33 charges were brought forward, and it started, the court-martial started, and it went on until on the 22nd of December, when I was convicted for 9 years.
Who prosecuted you?
Justice Michael Felix Latte. Sorry, he was the president, he was the judge of the court-martial. The prosecutor was Akamba.
Where from?
From Ghana.
Was he alone?
I think, I don't know this person, but it was a Gambian who was with him as a legal secretary, I think. I don't know him.
Was it me?
I think I recognize your face, but I cannot confirm. But I think so. Yeah.
No, it wasn't me.
Okay.
I was doing masters at the time.
Okay.
At the University of the West Indies.
Okay.
So it couldn't have been me. Yes. So I raised that question because it suggested that I prosecuted you, but
no,
it wasn't me.
Okay. If you said so, no.
Yes. So you are prosecuted.
Exactly.
And you are convicted.
Right.
Did they call any witnesses against you?
Actually, they call witnesses. As I said yesterday, these issues of my bodyguards harassing people were part of those 33 charges that were levied on me. But they were thrown out of the window. However, one would expect the treason charge to stand 100%. It also didn't stand, maybe 20% forced onto me. And they brought in my wife and my twin brother, 3 charges, so to say, on the basis. Yeah.
I don't understand. Your wife and your twin brother were charged together with you in a court-martial.
That was the intention. Because whenever I had traveled out of the country, I had given specific orders to the drivers, to the guards, that they keep these vehicle keys and no vehicle goes out of the compound. However, my twin brother, in our culture, he was also a husband to my wife. Later I come to know, after the court-martial, or during the court-martial, when the charge came out, that saying he used to go to my bedroom and pick the keys from my wife. And then he used to go to Gambia College with this government vehicle, without a driving license. And these 3 charges were on that.
I understand that. That is the basis of the charge.
Exactly.
But my question is, were they also charged together with you in a court-martial? Because that would be very odd.
I'm coming to that in a short moment, please.
Proceed, please.
And then when these charges were read, and I was asked to plead guilty or not guilty, I pleaded for the first time not guilty. My understanding was that I never knew anything about it. And then we had a break, tea break. We were at the tea break, and Felix Michael later said to me outright, "Hi, my brother, you are a soldier. These charge sheets are going to be brought on you, on your twin brother and your wife. They will be convicted, and you will not be released. So the better you soldier it, you are a soldier. You can take that." And then we resumed. He read the charges again. Akamba went flat on the ground that no. He take the verdict that I said I was not guilty, and he will prosecute me along that line. Akamba said I overruled.
Who overruled?
Sorry, Justice Felix Michael Latte. He overruled, and he read the charges again, and I pleaded guilty.
And then what happened after that?
At the end, They gave me, the first charge was 2 years, the second was 3 years, and the fourth one was 4 years.
Your investigation, who conducted it?
The military police.
And where was it conducted?
In the prisons. First, we were taken to the army headquarters and told I am going to go to the court-martial. But the investigation team was Sergeant Jassy from the military police at the time. And I will come back to a little bit, if you allow me. When I got arrested on Friday, all my bodyguards and bodyguards of Sadibu Hydra were never arrested. Until on Monday, they were asked to go to work, and they came to work, and then that's where they got arrested and brought to Mile 2. Maybe a week or two later, the records are in the prison, they could be ascertained. Dembo Jiba, who was my driver, and Wahab Koli, who was also my driver, were released, but not to go home. They were taken to the NIA headquarters and later to Fajara barracks. And they have been schooled for 2 good months as to what to say when in the event they were called into my court-martial.
Did you have to face the NIA during the investigations?
Investigation, yes, and many times.
Can you tell us the process of your interrogation? The things that happened during your interrogation?
I'm sorry.
Take your time.
Okay. Actually, all what they wanted to hear from me was that I accepted that I wanted to kill Jame, and weapons would be produced to have said that these were the weapons I was carrying to carry out whatever intentions I had against Jame, and from there he was going to give me a pardon. And they had brought papers that I have to sign, and I refused, totally.
Who brought the papers?
This where Alaji Martin was the head of all this.
Could you name the individuals, all of them?
The ones I can remember from the military side were WO2 Alaji Martin, Lance Kapul Senghor, or I think he was a Lance Kapul at the time, Lance Kapul Senghor.
What's his first name?
I think would be Lamin,
okay.
if I'm correct.
Lamin Senghor.
I think I'll be correct.
Do you know whether he has another nickname?
No, I can't. No.
But in which of the services did he belong to?
He belonged to the Infantry Battalion Yundum.
Do you know a person called Assassin?
Assassin, this is I don't know that.
You don't know that name, but this person is Lamin Senghor, and Lance Corporal Lamin Senghor, and he used to work with Alaji Martin. I
know Lamin Senghor I'm talking about used to work with Alaji Martin, WO2 Alaji Martin.
Okay, proceed.
Malafi Kaur, Babukar Bob, the private soldier at the time, not Babukar Mboob.
Yes.
Clarification, please.
Babukar Bob, yes.
Babukar Bob, he was a private soldier in barracks.
Yes.
But at the time, he was at the state guard.
And who else?
And one Nur, I don't know his name, but he was from the TSG.
Okay.
And PM Sar from the Gambia National Army.
PM Sar?
Pamudu M. Sar.
Okay, Pamudu Sar.
Yeah, correct.
All right. So you've mentioned Alaji Martin, Manlafi Kaur, Lance Corporal Lamin Senghor, Pamudu Sar. And who else?
And Samba Jallo, the driver to Edward Singate.
And Babukar Bob.
And Babukar Bob, correct.
That's right. And tell us what happened when they came to you.
These were on many occasions, the daytime, in the night.
That many occasions.
Right.
How many can you think of?
I can't recall exactly how the number, but I can.
2 times?
More than that, more than 10 times, more than 20 times.
More than 20 times?
Yeah.
And what would they do when they come?
They had always come with a tape recorder, and for most of the time they would play Jekyll and Hyde, so to say, one good team, one bad team.
Good cop, bad cop.
Exactly. And Malafikor, since he was my batchmate in the military, he was there to play the good cop, so to say. And it was like he was to convince me to say, yes, I had wanted to kill Jammeh, and yes, I own those weapons that were produced or would be produced. And if I refuse, then the other part would carry on with their tortures. But still, Malaf would be there at certain times. No, stop, he will talk. Stop, he will talk. But I never gave in. Because for me, it was like, I would rather die than to lie to them. Nay.
And what would they do?
Okay. I have to pick certain tortures now that were meted on me and Sadibu Hydra. For example, once they came, they had a bucket of water in confinement number 5. I was in shackle, I was in handcuff. I had 2 handcuffs and 2 shackles on my legs. And I was completely naked in my birthday suit. They took me to confinement number 5. And there I found this bucket of water. They pushed me down on my knees, and then they put a plastic bag. This was a Piccadilly plastic bag, the bigger one, over my head. They tied it at my neck, and then they asked me to confess. And then during the process, they would pull my head down in the bucket with water. And from the water that sips right inside the bag, between the bag and my neck, I realized it was acidic. Gas oil was there, essence was there, and this continued until probably I black out. And they were beating me with a Warrington claw hammer. This was in the hands of Malafikor.
Who was involved in that process?
The people I just mentioned, Elijah Martin, he was always the commander of this team. Lamin Senghor.
What would you call that team?
The torture team.
So your testimony is that Alaji Martin was the head of the torture team.
Every day they came, he was the head. Every day they had come to me.
Proceed, please. And who else?
And Malafikor, this Ndur I talked about, I don't know his first name, but he was from the TSG. PM Sar, Samba Jallo, but Samba Jallo came very few times. Yeah. And later I come to understand, whenever Samba was there, it was somewhere within the prison yard. But this I cannot ascertain.
Who else? You mentioned Samba Jallo.
Exactly.
Manlafikor.
Malafikor.
Alaji Martin.
Alaji Martin.
Who else?
This Lance Corporal Lamin Senghor.
He was there always.
Always, he was
there. He was always. Also a constant.
Constant, he was always there.
These over 20 instances of torture, he was always present.
Always there.
Alaji Martin, these 20 instances of torture, he was always present.
Always present. With the case of Pamudu M. Sar, he had never tortured me directly, but he was always standing at the door.
Okay, proceed, please.
Okay. And another time, they came, this was early in the morning. How do I know it was early in the morning? It was that in the prisons, at the back, these are swamp, mangrove swamps, there are birds. When they sing, we know exactly it was prayer time in the morning. And they came, they opened my cell, they said it was time to go for washing. And then they took me across, out of the prison, across to the big side. And it was dipping me inside the water until I felt drowned. They pulled me out. Again, this continued until I think I swooned. I fainted. But along all these tortures, I came to understand whenever I went blackout, they were afraid. And then I also started playing along that line. But not immediately when they started the tortures, I gave in, but I played the dead somehow. And it had helped somehow.
You have mentioned 2 types of torture.
Exactly.
The first is They'll put a Piccadilly plastic bag over
my
your
head.
head and dip it in some liquid in a bucket.
Exactly.
That happened until you fainted. It ended. Then the next time they take you to the beach.
Exactly.
And dip your head in the water, in the sea.
Exactly.
Until you fainted.
Exactly.
And what else?
And another time, I don't know exactly where this was, but they came, put a hood on my head, on our eyes, me and Sadibu, and then they took us out in a vehicle. Where they drove, I can tell, but later I found myself inside a shipping container. It was so hot that I thought we were in hell. And we were always completely naked as a needle.
You mentioned that in the first instance of torture, somebody had a hammer.
This is Malavikor.
And was that hammer used at all?
Each time he came with this hammer, I thought it was only for me. He had no spot where he would have beaten me with this hammer or knocked me with this hammer.
I don't understand.
I said there's no part on my body where he had not used this hammer on my body. That's what I wanted to say.
So they hit you with this hammer?
Completely.
All over your body?
Completely.
Throughout this period of tortures, did you cry?
Yeah, I cried until I think I lost all my tears out.
Did anybody try to stop this? Elijah Martin, did he try to stop this?
As I said, the only time they would have a break or a stop is when in the end, as I said, I pretended to have gone blackout, and then they would drag me back into the cells, if it were within the premise of the prison yard.
Could you tell us any other form of torture that they used on you?
Another day they came, this was in the night, they put a hood on my head, and now, since where I was, I started to orient myself quickly as to where they're going to take me out. And then I started counting my step. When we left the building, they turned left. So now I knew exactly we're going to the gallows. Or we're going to go to another door which goes inside the criminal convicts, the main yard. But since they have gone direct, and the steps were to a door where I have to step over a concrete embankment, I knew exactly now we are in the gallows area. But at this particular point in time, the thoughts that were reeling in my mind was that I was going to be taken to the gallows. But the steps continued, so I knew, no, I have passed the gallows now. And then we went, and then we stopped at a particular point. And then they removed the hood, and then the tape recorder was there. And then Elijah Martin said, now this is your graveyard. And whether you talk or we bury you here alive.
At the time, where was Sadibu?
Sadibu was not there. I was the only one who was taken on this occasion.
Proceed.
And then, before I could say anything, I just was butt struck at the back, and I felt in this, what they call graveyard. And then they started burying me.
It was a pit.
It was a pit, dug out.
And then?
And then they buried me up to here. And then they put the tape recorder next to my head. And then they said I should talk and say, I wanted to kill Jammeh, and Jammeh is going to forgive me if I say that, and then I own up to owning those weapons. Those were going to be produced in a press conference. And I refused. And then Malavikor started hitting me with the hammer until I don't know exactly what went there on. Maybe I went into blackout.
At this point, where was Elijah Martin?
He was always standing giving orders.
Lamin Senghor?
He was also there. They were the one who were burying me in, or who buried me.
Pamodu Sar?
Pamodu had never, to be quite honest, he had never taken part directly, but he was always standing at the door.
How about Bob?
He was part of it.
Ndur?
Part of it.
How long did this ordeal last?
This happened almost 2-3 times, if I can fully remember.
This burial alive?
Exactly.
It happened 2 or 3 times?
3 times.
Same location?
The same location.
Same people?
The same people, exactly.
And still you could not be broken?
No.
How about Sadibu?
Sadibu also had, okay, Sadibu was not buried alive, but I was buried alive.
3 times, you said?
Yes, 2 or 3 times, if I can, I think 3 times, to be exact. It was 3 times.
This place where you were buried alive, where was it?
This was in the prison yard, where the gallows is, if you would know the place.
And so, what other form of torture was used against you?
And another time they came for me, this was in the afternoon. When they came, actually this issue happens many occasions, but on this particular issue, on this particular day, they moved me out. They said, today you have to defecate and eat your excreta.
Meaning you had to eat your own poo, that's what.
Exactly. Hey, dengay day nga lekk ko. Irmandinka ibe bu kelele bi yela bodom. He pular ahu watande nyama do demandi.
Jola?
Jola, I lost my Jola now. Sorry.
And who said that to you?
This was Alaji Martin and Malafi Kor.
Which Alaji Martin are you talking
This is
about?
WO2 Alaji Martin, nickname called Lagos.
Do you know what position he now holds in the army?
No, I have no idea.
So, Lagos, what role did he play in all this?
He was the commander of the torture team. Every day they had come for me.
And on this particular day, they wanted you to defecate and eat it.
Exactly.
And tell us what happened.
And in this position, my legs were tied together. My hands were tied. I couldn't move my hands, but I was lying on my back. They put this, because they had tried for me to defecate. I could not. I tried. Definitely I have tried. But I could not. And then they went, and from where they brought this excreta, I have no idea, but they brought excreta. And then they put it on my chest. So I had to lick it like this. I tried, but I could not because my neck could not go, or my tongue could not reach it. And Lance Corporal Lamin Sengor, maybe out of anger, he just picked it up and threw it on my face. And then tried to force it in my mouth. I clenched my teeth together. And then I was so beaten so terribly that I swooned. And then when I woke up, I was...
You passed out?
Yeah, I was in my cell.
At this time, where was Sadibu?
Sadibu also suffered the same situation.
How do you know?
We discussed together. Whenever I was taken, when I was brought back, Sadibu would be taken. But sometimes they take us together. They would first start with Sadibu. I think that was a psychological torture, so to say. And then they will come onto me also.
I think it's about time we take a break, and we will return after 30 minutes.
Thank you, Council. Yes, it's about time we take a 30-minute break and come back at 12 noon. One quick question. I always have the tendency of preempting Council, but I just wanted to ask the witness, what was the fate of the notebook found on Barrow?
Important question.
Correct. I should have said that earlier. The notebook, when we found it on Barrow's map pocket, we handed it over, personally, I handed it over to Sambaba and Daba Marena. Because Daba Marena was the NIA officer attached to the State House, so that they could continue their investigations.
Thank you. We adjourn the meeting for 30 minutes, come back at 12 noon. Meeting is adjourned.
Wow.